Hello, sweet friends. This is Gina. Welcome to the TheReBookery channel. I am so excited for today because I am finally going to show to you guys what I have been doing with my Etsy shop since I closed it back in July. And it seems like forever, and I feel like I've forgotten how to do a whole bunch of stuff. And so yeah, this has just been a crazy last couple of months, but I am so happy to be opening it up, and I'm so happy to share with you guys what I've been working on. And I wanted to tell you a couple of things. It's been forever since, oh my gosh, that's a dog howling, so if you can hear that, I apologize. It's been a couple of months since we talked. The eclipse was amazing. It was a life-altering experience. School starting has been a whirlwind. It has been awesome. I love my kids. Has taken a lot of my energy, so my creative stuff only happens on the weekends. And craft show went very well. I'm actually going to take a break from craft shows for a while, and I think I'm going to spend time on my Etsy shop and time just doing kind of my own journaling and things like that. So, okay, let's talk about the Etsy opening. I'm going to open my shop on Sunday, October 1st at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Kansas City, Missouri, USA. And this shop opening is kind of cool because I revamped my whole shop. So I redid a whole bunch of stuff. I have new sections in my shop, and I have some new journals, and I have some things that are not journals. So the first thing is I have a Christmas section. I made some Christmas journals. I made 4 of them. I posted the video Friday night. So last night, I'll link the description below for you to see that video if you haven't checked it out already. They will be in my shop when my shop opens. My lovely little cookbooks that I called them. I talked about these and I showed you these guys when I was getting ready for the craft show, and this is what I'm going to put in my shop. So I won't flip through these guys because I've already talked about them in a previous video. So I will just link that video below because I did go through these guys in that video. So lovely little cookbooks, that's the section name for this. The next section I'm going to have in my shop is called Eclectic Notebooks. I call them notebooks because they're kind of soft back, they're not hard back, and the reason why is because I made these out of file folders. So these were recycled file folders. I'm a teacher, and so I come across file folders all the time. So I always try to find something to do with them. So these were recycled file folders, and then I covered them with 1970s wallpaper. So this is, actually I think it was a book that was 1969 was the wallpaper book. So 1969, 1970s, I swear I had this in my house growing up in the 70s, so I just think of it as the 70s. So these little notebooks are nice and lightweight. They have 2 signatures, plus they'll have an envelope that is sewn in the center. And each one of them has the same components, just a little bit different design. And then this is a different type of notebook I have, and I actually have some seam binding here that I untied. And this one is not wallpaper, but this is wrapping paper. And so it has the same type of components. It doesn't have the envelope there in the center, but what it has is a clear pocket in the back for photos or ephemera. You could use it as a little dashboard. It has lots of children's book pages, some of my absolute favorite paper that I bought one time a long time ago at a little specialty shop here and have never been able to find it again. Some game pages, some music pages, cardstock. Tried to keep this theme like a bunny theme or a kid's theme. So this one will be in the shop, and I'm not going to flip through all of these guys because I feel like the video will be like 20 hours long. And because Etsy lets us have more pictures now, I feel like I can give you guys more in-depth pictures. And plus I'm able to describe in the description, you know, exactly the measurements and all that good stuff and how many of pages and all that good stuff. So I'll just kind of generally talk about these and flip through just a few of them. So then these guys are all wallpaper, and again, set up the same way. Each time you open it up, you'll have a pocket over here with some vintage papers, some wallpaper, and just some ephemera from some books. Same thing back here. This was a card from a scrapbooking collection, and then just some scrap paper. And then basically the same setup, just different papers. I love this cardstock that I found. Some office papers, some wallpaper, pages from some 1950s, 1960s, like reading books, these sweet little illustrations, and it's got, you know, a basic story. And I think that's how I learned how to read, was those types of books. So just an eclectic mix. There's some flocked wallpaper. Just an eclectic mix of all kinds of papers. Some of my more fragile papers, I put washi down the center of it so it would kind of keep its integrity, and I stitched down the center some of the book pages so they'd have nice hold when they were sewn into the signatures. So there's that one. This one's got like some collage of some little teeny tiny book pages, and then I just kind of washed over it with some paint. And then this is an old piece from a notepad. Here's an envelope in this one. I love that. Frankenberry cereal. It's 1981. General Mills playing card. That was kind of cool. There's a few papers in here that I got from a Flow magazine for paper lovers that, oh my gosh, I found it at Barnes & Noble probably eons ago, and just like to stick those papers in every once in a while. There's another one right there. So yeah, these are the little Eclectic Notebooks, and that's a separate section in my shop. Okay, the next section I want to talk about is called Small But Sweet Journals. So these would be journals that I would consider small. I would say, you know, like this is probably 6 by 7. These are just those smaller handheld journals. These would definitely not be, if you watch my videos, these would not be my little journal. These would probably be like, I don't know, my little journal is probably like quadruple the size of these guys. But just small little journals that I find are less intimidating, and just some really sweet little books that I've used to make these journals. These two right here are little cash ledgers, you know, where you would keep track of like your business accounts and all that good stuff. This was actually a book that was attached to a music, like like almost like a Jack-in-the-Box type of music thing, but the music player was broken, so I took that off and I was able to salvage the covers. And then in this book, it's got all the original pages, and they had some really pretty and colorful illustrations. So the papers in here, I had so much fun using these papers because these illustrations really lended themselves to these bright papers. So lots of fun stuff in this little journal right here. And I love the name Clementine, and this got a little vintage button. And then this one right here is Snuggles. You will get other cat themed papers and just some fun little scrapbook papers, some more of those, like this was a Scott Forsman reader from back in the day, some graph paper, some school, like grade book pages, things like that. And like I said, anytime I could try to find something that had to do with cats, vintage cats, I would try to stick them in here too. And then the Bobbsey twins. Everybody loves the Bobbsey twins. I actually have a couple of these. So this is the one I'll put in now. I have another one that is ready to go. I just haven't taken pictures and stuff of him yet. So I will add it to the shop a little later on. But I put some actual pages from the book in here. I added some other pages from storybooks. And then I have some wallpaper, some cool little graph or drafting paper that I found, some wonderful scrapbook paper, some really, let me go back to that one, really pretty scrapbook paper. And then I love the end papers on this one. This one has a patchwork of fabric on the front. This one is a book that would be great for somebody who loves music because it's an old music textbook. And so it's got nice thick music pages and then some tablet paper, some graph paper, some pretty scrapbook papers, and just lots of fun and kind of muted colors in this one. I do have a couple of bright colors, but I tried to keep this one pretty muted. I don't know, I felt like this was a more subdued journal, but just such a sweet little journal, and I really love the binding on this one. And then this one is got to be one of my all-time favorite books. This is a real book, so if you've ever seen this series, this was a real book of historic places of America. So I just added some fun little stickers and things to this journal. This was one of the best thrift days ever. I found these vintage military maps in the basement of this person's house, and I'm pretty sure they weren't supposed to be sold, but they were, and I bought them, and I love them. They are just beautiful, and there's some coloring book papers, but the colors of them, they're just really old and worn, and they have these muted colors and some greens and some grays, and oh my gosh. And so just to show you what I did in here, this book has a lot of papers where I have double backed them, meaning that I glued one side to another side of the map, and then I stitched all the way around, so it's actually two papers here. So it's nice and thick, and you will not be disappointed in the thickness of this paper. It will handle, I've done watercolor on paper, on a journal where I've used paper like this before, and it handled wonderfully. I've done some acrylic paint, done some marker, some permanent marker, and look at those colors. And so it worked out really well, and I feel like that was just a real sturdy, thick paper. And again, I did the same thing here. This was a 1984 calendar page, and I backed it onto an old ledger paper, so this is nice and thick. So this journal will be in the section called Small But Sweet. All right guys, here we go, the big one. So I have a section in my shop called Big and Quirky, and that's because they are bigger and they are quirky. Some of them are larger than others, some of them are smaller than others, but they are all quirky and they all have different themes. So I will have 10 of these in my shop. Again, I'm not gonna go through all of them because I have actually showed a couple of these on my craft fair video, but I do wanna point out just a few to you guys. So I posted this one on Instagram, and a lot of people liked this. I love this one too. This was a storybook that had a super cool cover, and then I just did some updating to it, put some really thick wallpaper here, and then added some Raggedy Ann wallpaper, and then just kind of added just an eclectic mix of some awesome papers, some old storybook pages. Yeah, this is a cool journal, and there would be plenty of room for you to do your scrapbooking, your memory keeping, your journaling, all that good stuff. Got some pockets in here that I made. Look at this wallpaper. This is so cool. It looks like probably 1980s wallpaper. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. And then there's some pockets in here. So this one's called the Cozy Hour Storybook. This one is a Compton's Young something encyclopedia, young children's encyclopedia, young person's encyclopedia. So I took the book apart, and it had a pretty nice thick spine, and I just reinforced it from the inside so that I could keep, I loved those raindrops, and then added some vintage fabric, and then just kind of thought that this was going to be like a sewing type journal. So there's sewing theme throughout this, a little bit of rain theme throughout this. And just another one that's full of an eclectic mix of papers, different sizes, envelopes with storybook pages inside, some of my dress pattern pages that I have from my dress pattern books. And again, I've double backed them, so I glued them to some ledger paper so that they're nice and thick and sturdy, and then stitched around all the edges. Some envelopes with some little journaling cards in them. Lots of yearbook pages in this one. Oh, I love this. This is the paper that I have on the spine of my little journal that I work in a lot. And this was some handmade paper that I got at an art store. And so I threw that in. It's nice and cottony. It's nice and thick and cottony. And then some flocked wallpaper. So this has got one of those envelopes that I made from wallpaper. And I talked about this in my craft fair video. So I made this out of wallpaper, and then just stuck some little cards and stuff in here. Oh my gosh, I love that card. And then it's nice, and it reminds me of my aunt. It reminds me of my aunt's bathroom. They built a house in the 80s, and it's nice and 80s-ish with that kind of that glistening bronze color here. So lots of fabric trim. Good and chunky. Lots of room for your own stuff. I threw a lot of journaling stuff in the envelopes. Love this picture from the yearbook. One of the yearbooks I have. And then some little cards, tally cards back here at the back. The dinosaur book. I have been in love with this dinosaur book since I got it and just hadn't ever figured out how I was going to use it. My son was obsessed with dinosaurs when he was young, and he knew all the names of every dinosaur. And I don't know, this just made me think about that. So I loved the colors too, the oranges and the blues. This has got a fabric spine, and then it's got 3 signatures. I didn't put any buttons on this one, and added just some decorative paper, and then I sealed the whole thing up and put some paint on it. So in this one, it's more kid themed because I kept the dinosaur illustrations and just tried to make it playful and fun, but also wanted to throw in some science part to it. So there's some science papers, some science book pages. These are just some stickers that I found at Dollar Tree, and I just was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool in this journal. So I just stuck those in. Some fun scrapbooking paper. Again, it's kind of kid themed, but yet it doesn't have to be for a kid. I personally would journal in this, but my brain is like a 13-year-old, so I actually would love to journal in something like this just because it's so fun and the colors are just so playful. But yeah, so this is just full of some of the illustrations, and then just some extra little pages and journaling cards that I stuck in, some fun old maid cards. Trying to see what else I have. Oh, here's some stitching I did around some paper with some playing cards, another envelope. Oh, I went to an estate sale where there was a teacher was getting rid of a lot of her stuff, and so she had a whole bunch of these cards that must have been like things that her students would do. They'd pick a card and they'd do that activity. So I threw some of those in there. And I love the ledger paper that has writing on it. That's something about that, just, I don't know, just makes me happy. So this is the dinosaur book. I had this one on Instagram. This is another Scott Forsman reading book. This one I'm sure is probably 1980s or so. This one's called Hang On to Your Hats, and that just made me think about kites. So these are fabric kites that I just kind of stitched and just kind of messily put them on here, and then sealed the whole thing up. Put some buttons on the spine. This one has 3 signatures. This one's pretty chunky. It's got wallpaper on the inside of the spine. It's got a pocket, and then some wonderful, oh my gosh, love the colors of this vintage wrapping paper, some old math pages, cardstock ledger paper, lots of school papers, some picture book paper, Some envelopes with fun things in them. I can always tell when I go back and I look at journals what day I made them, because ones that if I made them all like in the same week or in that same time period, they all kind of have the same elements. And then, you know, the next set of books I make will then all kind of have the same elements. So I can kind of tell that I made a lot of these at a similar time, because they kind of all have the same elements. Love some of this fabric that I use, really bright colors. This was just kind of a remnant of fabric that looked like a pocket, so I just sewed it on there as a pocket. These two I've also posted on Instagram. They this is that picture book that I've pulled some of those pages. You saw me use some of those pages in the other journals, so this is the book that it came from. And this one I stitched paper together and glued paper together, so you're going to get those thicker pages again. Some envelopes. I tried to do more of a nature theme in this little picture book, and just again with the little wallpaper pocket, just some fun kid themed things, but it doesn't have to be a kid's journal. Again, I personally would journal in this. I like the fun and the whimsy and just the, you know, like Odie. Oh my gosh, that just brings back so much memories. So of course I would use a journal like this. So that's this one right here. And I did some hand stamping and some paint splatters, but then this is sealed too, so the ink should not run. And then this one is a child craft book. This was like a science type of textbook, and this has 2 signatures, 2 little buttons, got some fabric, and the colors in this made me think 1970s kitchen. I don't know why, probably because this was my 1970s kitchen, where these avocado greens and harvest golds and things like that. So tried to do the theme with this one was plants and trees, lots of greens. This was a calendar that I found that was really cool from, I don't know what year it came from. Maybe it'll say here. No, it doesn't say here, but it's got to be 70s. And it just kind of was cool because it had little recipes in the calendar pages. So tried to throw in a lot of things that grow, and I want to show you this one page right here. So this was a page that I pulled from, and I think it actually came from this book, and it was The Girl Who Became a Flower. And I didn't realize I had put that page in until after I'd made the book, and I was flipping through it one day and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. I mean, that just, to me, I feel like I could do a whole journal spread, and this could be a jump off point. The Girl Who Became a Flower. Oh my gosh. And so this is some tracing paper, and then stamping with some ink back here, and again those 1970s groovy colors. I wish I knew what year this calendar was. Then my favorite one, I actually have 2 of these, and I've only made one right now. I've got the other one ready. Here, I'll show you what the other one looks like. So here's the other one. It's just the cover, and I've got my holes punched and everything. I just haven't I haven't put it together. But this is a hanky that I've turned into the spine, and this one is going to be more like a cookbook food home theme, whereas this one's going to be more of a sewing theme, because this was a Singer sewing book, and then this one was actually The Great Dishes of the World. This was a cookbook. So I haven't made this one yet, but when I do, I will get it in the shop. But this one I love, love, love. Okay, so 4 signatures. And then when I did my stitching, I wanted it to be really secure, so I went in and added another stitch point, which makes it just more secure. So on the front, I've got some embossing, some ink, some glitter, and then I've sealed it. On the inside, I've got some wallpaper, some scrapbook paper, and then pulled out as many of the sewing pages from this book as I could, and then I just added some other sewing papers in here. I am in love with this book. The colors, the wrapping paper, the fabric scraps, the little pieces that I pulled out from my dress pattern books. I'm just like there's not one page in here that I am not in love with. I love, 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 love it all. Now, there are a couple of pockets that I made out of dress pattern. Oh, look at this. Look, that fabric is so pretty, and it looks just so pretty with that pink right there. Textured paper. So let me find this one pocket. I think, there we go. Here's one of them. Okay, so first of all, hang on. So here's where I've taken wallpaper, or I'm sorry, wrapping paper, and one of those picture book pages, and then I glued it to a back of a sewing pattern page, sewing book page, whatever. So these guys have been glued, and then they've been stitched. So it just kind of adds a little extra interest to the paper, as well as makes it thicker. And I just think it's just a really juicy page that is just like begging to be journaled on. And then because I have that extra stitch, I can add a little pocket and some trim. So these little packages here, I love them. I love them, love them, love them. And they're already a pocket. So I don't care if they're falling apart. In fact, those are the ones I like the most. I just stitched it on here, put some fabric, and then turned it into just a pocket with all kinds of little yummy tags. And I love the old browning and stuff that it has. It just adds so much character. I think I've told you before, I don't tea dye my papers because the papers I use are already old. They don't need any more staining or anything to them because they are already so old. Okay, here's another pocket. This was a hanky, and this actually was the leftover piece from the hanky that I used on the spine of this book. So here's the other part of it. So I had to cut it in half, and then it's sewed, and it's got some tags in there, some felt. When my grandma passed away, she had a stack of felt, and it wasn't the cheesy felt that you buy at Michael's for like 15 cents a piece. This was real wool felt. And so my stepmother gave it all to me, so I have a stash of felt that I've just been cutting into die cuts and stuff. So this is some of that my grandmother's felt that I love that I have. And then here's another one of those pockets. Oh my gosh, this is just, it is so yummy. Love it, love it, love it. I love that it's crinkled. I love that it's wrinkled. I love that it's stained. Love, love, love it. So guys, like I don't even know what you could do with this journal. There's so many things. I want to journal in this journal. If I wasn't in the little journal right now, I would be wanting to get in this journal. That is for sure. It is just yum-alicious. So there's that one. That's my Singer sewing book. And like I said, when I get the other one made, I will put it in. So if you've been watching my videos, you know that I am obsessed with mail. And I read the book Paris Letters, and I want to go to Paris, and just anything that has to do with mailing and stamping and all that good stuff. So check this out. I found a couple of rolls of these labels, and they are as old as the hills. You can tell they're yellowed and everything. And I've been hoarding them because I didn't really know what to do with them. I mean, they're pretty big. I'm sure this is a 4x6, and I just was like, what the heck would I do with these? So my mail obsession got me thinking about how could I turn these into usable stickers. So what I did was I made a package that if you order this on Etsy, you will get this little package, this little envelope that I have handmade for you. I will write your name with my own pen, my own messy handwriting. I will write your name and your address. I will put a lovely little stamp, a real stamp up here, and then I will send it to you in the mail. So it's like getting Happy Mail. And the inside of it, you are going to get, let me get all this out of the way here. Inside your envelope, you are going to get a little package that is a collection of stickers that I made with these labels. So you will get 6 of these vintage postcard themed stickers. You will get 2 of these, what I call funky chunky because they look just, they're a little funky chunky, and I just stamped them with a stamp that I have. And I did the red. I liked red because red made me think of vintage postage and stuff. So you get 2 of those, and then you get 2 of these smaller labels. And then you'll get 1 small, I think this is like a 1x3 airmail sticker. And some of them are black and red, and then some of them are red and blue. So they might be a little bit different, but it'll say airmail, and it'll have 2 little arrows. And then this paper that it came wrapped in, as well as the envelope, actually came from this book. It was a 1940s modern postage stamp album. And what I did was pulled the papers out and used these papers to make the envelope that it would be mailed in, and then to make that little package that your stickers come in, which you could then use on a journal spread because it's got such pretty pictures of the stamps and stuff. So much fun using these in my journaling, and you've probably seen them. If you've been watching my videos, you might have seen that I've been using some of these. Now, if you purchase this and a journal, this will be sent separately. This will just be sent in the mail regardless of what else you purchase. So that's kind of what I got going on. I am extremely excited for this opening. Like I said, I will open my shop Sunday around 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Kansas City, Missouri, USA. And I will not divulge pricing or anything until my shop opens, just because, you know, these books are all different. They're all unique because they're all repurposed, and each one I have to price separately and differently and individually. And so all of those prices will be in the Etsy shop, and as well as a detailed description of each one of the listings and lots of pictures. Guys, thank you for this marathon video hanging out with me. I totally appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.